The materials. They're gone. Less than an hour left until we arrive in Chicago. Sarah, who had started preparing to get off the plane, let out a scream that was almost like a cry. The materials? Mr. Smith, sitting next to Sarah, asked her. The script for your presentation is missing. What? Sarah, who usually kept a composed expression, looked like she was about to burst into tears. Isn't there a backup on the laptop? Well, I dropped it during the turbulence earlier, and now it won't turn on. But you're good at presentations, Mr. Smith. You can manage without a script, can't you? What are you talking about? I can't speak without a script. Oh, what am I gonna do? The presentation is as soon as we land. The usually calm and collected Mr. Smith was now holding his head and trembling like a scared puppy. Because of me, Mr. Smith is gonna be embarrassed. Next to Mr. Smith, Sarah was sinking into despair. I had no choice. I took out my laptop and said to Sarah, Sarah, you remember the content, right? Mr. Smith, you talk about what you remember too. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna prepare the materials now. That's impossible. Then do the presentation ad-lib? That's reckless. Then stop complaining and let's get ready. We still have an hour. And so, I began to create the presentation materials. My name is John, 34 years old. I work for a major foreign food company in Tokyo with international colleagues. My father was a diplomat, and he was always busy, moving from country to country when I was young. I was born in America, but my mother insisted on raising me in Japan. They say the brain is fully developed by the age of 3. I want him to learn proper Japanese. He can speak English outside and Japanese at home. How are we gonna live? And what about learning Japanese culture? We'll have a Japanese community. It's so sad that he won't know his grandparents' warmth. Basically, she was homesick. No wonder. My mom, who had been following my dad around even before they got married, was getting tired of living overseas. I wish I could eat Japanese food more easily. That was my mom's habit of saying. Nowadays, Japanese food is a global health food trend, but it used to be unpopular for being too expensive. It was hard to get it locally, and for those who deserves like my mom, it must have been a coveted food. Even now, it costs a lot. It's tough to eat it every day. So, when I started elementary school, we moved to a rural town in Japan where my grandparents lived. My dad stayed behind alone, feeling lonely. It can't be helped. That's the fate of a diplomat. My grandparents were rice farmers, and every day I ate delicious, shiny white rice. The side dishes were mainly vegetables, but they were all incredibly tasty. Grandma, this pickled cabbage is delicious. I'm so glad. It was worth the effort to grow it with care. Cabbage is great, but I want to eat eggplant too. Then, after we finish planting rice, let's plant eggplants. John, will you help? Sure. Then, Grandma, make your stir-fried eggplant. Why don't you ask Mom? Because Grandma's cooking is more delicious. Hey, that's rude. My mom was also a good cook, but she mainly made Western-style dishes with olive oil and cheese. Personally, I preferred the simple Japanese food my grandma made. The countryside is nice. No one gets mad, no matter how much you run around, and the clear air and fresh breeze feel great. The big sky showed me infinite possibilities, and the leisurely floating clouds showed me a free way of life. I was growing up carefree, but my mom was worried about my educational environment. There were no prestigious schools around, and she was concerned that I might forget English. My mother never told me to be like my father, but she did want me to grow up to be an adult who could thrive in the international community. With her wishes in mind, I went to live with my father after graduating from elementary school. Where's Dad now? In China, I thought. But they don't speak English in China. But I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to upset my mom. Well, at least I can see pandas all the time. I turned my disappointment into positive thinking to make my mom happy. Living in China was refreshing and fun. I struggled with the different Chinese accents in various regions, but my flexible and curious mind learned the language quickly. By the time I graduated middle school, I had become a fluent trilingual in Chinese, English, and Mandarin. All right, next, I'm gonna master Cantonese. Just as I got motivated, my dad got transferred to Spain. Dad, don't you move around too much. Can't help it. I'm a diplomat. But couldn't you stick to one region, like just in Asia? I don't get to choose my assignments. Fair enough. At least in Spain, I could watch bullfights. Learning flamenco might be fun too. My passionate teenage years in such a vibrant country flew by, and soon it was time for me to enter college. By then, I had one dream. I want people all over the world to eat my grandpa's rice. No matter where I was in the world, I never forgot the taste of the rice my grandpa grew. Paella was delicious, but I missed the shiny, sticky Japanese rice more than the dry Spanish rice. Pickles in fancy jars were nice, but I preferred my grandma's homemade pickles. And being abroad made me realize how safe and superior Japanese food was. The variety of seasonings and cooking methods was impressive, and most importantly, you could eat fish raw, rice topped with raw egg, stir-fried burdock root with soy sauce and sesame seeds, and pounded yam soup. How amazing is that? It's crazy to eat raw food. Are you trying to make me eat tree bark? It would be a shame to miss out on all this. I wanted people around the world to know how wonderful Japanese food culture is. I want people to eat it. To do that, I need to learn more about food. I've decided to attend the University of Chicago, which focuses on food product research. If I may say so myself, I'm quite brilliant. I must have a high absorption capacity because all the knowledge I crammed in became power and enhanced my intelligence. Fortunately, I liked studying, so the exam preparation wasn't a burden, and I successfully got into the University of Chicago. I was able to focus on the research I hoped for. Chicago is a land where agriculture thrives, and it has many farming methods and wisdom different from Japan. Grandpa, I'm gonna study a lot and showcase your rice to the world. Really? That sounds exciting. Grandpa probably didn't have such grand ambitions. Having struggled after the war, he put his heart into rice farming for the simple reason that he wanted his family and those around him to have enough to eat. So, it's not a large-scale operation. I fully understand that growing rice for export worldwide is unrealistic. But Grandpa's rice, to me, is a symbol of Japanese food, and my true aim was to elevate the entire Japanese cuisine. Just wait, I'm gonna spread the deliciousness of your rice to the world. And Grandma's pickles too. Oh, that sounds great. You know, John, I actually want to go overseas. A trip? Then come to Chicago. That would be nice. But Chicago is a big city, right? And it's a place where agriculture is thriving. I want to go to a more rural place where people struggle for food. Are you gonna make rice fields? All I can do is grow rice. I made rice fields from barren land. I did a lot of research. I want to use that knowledge to help people in need. He wants to spend his remaining years helping those less fortunate. For the first time, I learned about my grandpa's dream. No matter how much accumulated knowledge and experience he had, it wouldn't be easy to grow rice in a foreign land with different climates and soils. Then I'll work hard to research how to grow rice in any land. So wait for me. Let's grow rice together. Growing rice with you, John, sounds great. Then I need to study foreign languages. How about from now on, we talk in English every day? I cannot speak English. What is that? I also need to ask Grandma what vegetables she wants to grow. I'm excited. But Grandpa, who joyfully spoke of his dream, passed away suddenly from an illness in my 4th year of college. I couldn't fulfill my grandfather's dream. I wanted to grow rice with him. That dream drove me to study hard, and before I knew it, I graduated at the top of my class from the University of Chicago. With that distinction, job offers were pouring in. Even global companies with branches worldwide reached out to me. However, I decided to get a job in Japan. A Japanese food manufacturer was fervently pursuing me. John, I read your thesis on food additives. Our company aims to export additive-free food worldwide. We'd love to have your expertise. Could you help us out? The representative reminded me of my grandfather in some ways. He had a strong passion for food and a love for it, and above all, his attitude of sharing his dream was inspiring. For someone like me who almost lost his dream due to his grandfather's death, it was like a ray of hope, and I accepted without hesitation. Yes, I would be happy to. People around me reacted strongly to my decision like, "Are you crazy, John? Hey, John, Are you seriously gonna work for that company? Yeah, I am. You could get a job at a much better company. You're the top graduate from the University of Chicago, for God's sake. You were even scouted by one of the top 3 companies in the world. That's true. Why would you turn that down to work for a company we've never even heard of? Have you lost it after your grandpa passed away? This is nuts. If I were in their shoes, I'd probably think, has this guy lost his mind? But I was captivated by the dream that the recruiter passionately talked about. Besides, I was starting to miss Japan. My desire to speak Japanese was growing so strong that I could hardly suppress it anymore. Returning to Japan after a long time, I found it crowded and bustling with people, and it was so hot that it made me dizzy. Since I wasn't used to speaking Japanese, trendy words and slang were unfamiliar to me, and I often felt left out of conversations. John, don't act like you just got back to Japan. I'm not trying to. I just never heard that kind of Japanese over there. Sure, Mr. Fancy Ritterney only uses refined language, huh? My colleague Tom always picked on me for everything. I couldn't figure out what he didn't like about me. What's your problem with me? Having grown up abroad for so long, I couldn't handle things vaguely. Maybe that's what annoyed her. That's exactly what I'm talking about with you. Every time he sums it up with a single sentence like that, there's nothing I can do. There were 8 other people who joined the company at the same time as me, but no one could stand up to the leader, Tom, and I ended up being the only one left out. To someone like you, who's always at the top of the class, we must seem pretty boring, so we'll just leave you alone. I just worked hard at my studies. I'm actually pretty ordinary. Yeah, whatever, Mr. Humble. Thanks a lot. Tom's attitude eventually spread throughout the entire company. Anyway, he's really good at getting in with people. He's sensitive to power and authority, and instinctively knows how to get close to the right people. He's good at accurately identifying the boss of the group and skillfully maneuvering them. After 3 months of training, Tom and I were both assigned to the Project Promotion Department. The Project Promotion Department is the core of the company, handling everything from marketing to new product development and sales expansion, and it's filled with the elite employees. There were especially many alumni from the same university as Tom, forming a kind of clique. Tom worked behind the scenes. John's a jerk who brags about graduating from the University of Chicago. Apparently, he speaks 4 languages and was personally scouted by one of our executives. Wow, that's impressive. His background is impressive, but he looks down on us as if we're all just ordinary people. Really? I talked to him the other day and didn't get that impression at all. That's his trick. Don't be fooled. I don't know if this conversation actually took place, but anyway, Tom spread bad rumors about me. As a result, I received unjustified resentment and became isolated within the department. If I tried to make a suggestion, it would go like this. More importantly, did you finish the job I asked for the other day? I organized the documents. The order was wrong. I did it as I was told. I didn't tell you to do that. It was always like this. Though it was expected that new employees would do menial tasks, the constant changes were too much. Even so, I had a dream, so I was able to endure it. I thought that if I worked hard for a year, I would be accepted, and my opinions would be heard. It didn't take long to realize that this hope was just a fantasy. You're rumored to be the troublemaker of this department. I haven't been given enough responsibility to be a troublemaker. That's exactly why you're troublesome. Isn't it you who's been spreading rumors about me? I've heard about what Tom has been saying to the senior colleagues. There were even people who felt sorry for me and warned me about it. At least, not everyone was against me. But then again, no one protected me either. It's not rumors, it's the truth. What part of it? All of it. This is getting us nowhere. At this rate, my dreams will never come true. Staying here is just a waste of time. Just when I was thinking about changing jobs, I got transferred to sales. The sales department wasn't as nasty as my previous one, but people were somewhat distant, and before I could get used to it, I got transferred again. After working in the warehouse, general affairs, and human resources, I finally ended up as the CEO, Mr. Smith's personal assistant. Basically, you're just carrying his bag, right? It's funny that you, who graduated from the University of Chicago, are now a personal assistant. It's because everyone hates you. You better be careful not to get dropped. I thought, you're the one who made everyone hate me, but I had no proof. I thought about quitting the company, but I might get a chance if I stay close to Mr. Smith. I decided to change my mindset. Even so, Mr. Smith already had 3 personal secretaries and a chauffeur. As Tom said, my job was mainly to carry Mr. Smith's luggage. Among the secretaries, the leader, Sarah, was an elegant woman who wore her suit impeccably. She was intelligent and beautiful, and her movements were efficient. John, carry this bag. Also, this one has food samples, so handle it carefully. Don't drop it. Her precise instructions and simple language showed her competence. Her expression was always sharp and flawless, and for some reason, she looked at me with cold eyes. I couldn't tell if she pitied or despised me, as her gaze had no warmth. Was I going to be mistreated here as well? Thinking about it made me stomachache. But in a way, this is a chance. If I can't make it here, I'll change jobs. I've made up my mind. The job of an assistant is surprisingly busy and involves a wide range of tasks. When Mr. Smith moves, I follow him, but otherwise, I support the secretaries. I create documents, write thank you notes, and handle personal requests from him. John, I'm sorry, but could you go buy a bouquet for me? What kind of bouquet? Actually, today is my wife's birthday. Congratulations. Thank you. We're gonna buy the present together later, but it's a bit sad to have nothing on the actual day. So I thought at least a bouquet would be nice. I really wish I could go myself. Mr. Smith has an important meeting coming up. No matter how hard he tries, he won't be able to finish before the florist's closing time. The secretaries are all busy, and I'm the only one free. Understood? Leave it to me. I'm counting on you. I don't mean to brag, but I have confidence in choosing roses. In Spain, there's a day called San Jordi's Day, where you give books and roses. While others focused on choosing books, I paid special attention to the roses. After all, people have preferences for books, but nobody dislikes beautiful roses. It's amazing how past event traditions can come in handy. You never know how things in life might connect. Mr. Smith's wife is beautiful, but she seems more suited to Gerbers than roses. Keeping that in mind, I had an elegant and nice bouquet made that wasn't too flashy. It's so lovely. I would love to receive such a bouquet myself. John, you're also good at choosing snacks. From now on, let's leave gift selection to you. The bouquet that pleased all the secretaries was also a big hit with Mrs. Smith. John, thanks to you, my stock has gone up. Thank you. Mr. Smith took the credit for himself, but well, that's okay. Since then, I've been in charge of not just flowers, but all gifts. However, it seems Tom found it amusing to see me running around shopping. You've become Mr. Smith's gopher. Isn't it a waste for a University of Chicago graduate? Thanks to this job, I'm learning a lot of things. Stop crying sour grapes. Ah, how pathetic. It's true that this isn't the kind of job someone who graduated at the top of their class from the University of Chicago would do. But I know, there's no better position for learning than being an assistant. In the car while traveling, at the far end of the negotiation table, hiding like a shadow, keeping my mouth shut, but my eyes are keenly observing everything, and my ears are trying to listen to things. I get to experience and learn from the top management skills firsthand. Could there be anything more interesting? I haven't given up on my dreams yet. Someday, this experience will surely pay off. Thinking this way, I tried to absorb everything. But sometimes I eavesdropped too much and got scolded by Sarah. John, don't stare at the clients with such a hungry look. It's rude. I'm sorry. You're not a secretary. You're an assistant. You should blend in and become invisible. Understood. Come on, Sarah. John must be bored just carrying the bags. Sometimes Mr. Smith would back me up, but with all due respect, Mr. Smith, we each have our assigned roles. It's bothersome if he oversteps. Besides, knowing one's place is necessary, isn't it? You're right, Sarah. And so, Sarah would argue him down. Several years had passed since I became Mr. Smith's assistant, when the company launched a huge project. I can't say much because it's a trade secret, but it was a successful research project to make rice stronger and able to grow well even in tough conditions. However, Our company alone couldn't move forward. So, we decided to propose a joint development to a company specializing in bioresearch. The chosen partner was a bio company based in Chicago. John, you graduated from the University of Chicago, right? Yes. Do you have any connections? Unfortunately, I don't know anyone working in the bioresearch labs. I see. That's too bad. But you know some good restaurants, right? Of course. I'll guide you. What are you two talking about? This isn't a vacation. Please remember the seriousness of the situation. Sorry. My apologies. With all that, Mr. Smith's business trip to the US was decided, and I was going to accompany him to the nostalgic city of Chicago. Naturally, this business negotiation would be conducted entirely in English. Mr. Smith himself would present our research results and propose a joint development. Even Mr. Smith seemed nervous this time, as he was rehearsing his presentation until the last minute before departure. Mr. Smith, we need to leave now, or we won't make it. Please continue your prep on the plane. Got it. Don't rush me so much. The plane won't wait. The client won't wait either. We can't afford to miss this flight. Please hurry up. The schedule that Sarah and the others had finally managed to coordinate was extremely tight, and we would head straight to the client's place for negotiations as soon as we landed, without a moment to catch our breath. We arrived at the airport just in time for departure and somehow managed to board the plane. Once on board, the three of us were so relieved that we fell asleep. It was no wonder since we had been working nearly around the clock recently. We had 18 hours until arrival, so we should get some rest. When I noticed, I had also fallen asleep. We woke up at the signal for the meal. We must have been very tired. Come to think of it, we haven't had any drinks yet. Why don't we enjoy some wine since we have the chance? Sounds good. This was our mistake. After being full and having some alcohol, we fell asleep again. Suddenly, there was a loud bang that woke me up. It seemed we had hit some turbulence. It wasn't too severe, but I could hear things falling around. Mr. Smith, Sarah, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Sarah? I'm fine too. She looks pale, and I wonder if she is okay. Less than an hour left until we arrive in Chicago. It's a good timing to wake up. Well then, prepare to get off. The meeting starts immediately after arrival. I need to get dressed and fix my sleepy face. While thinking that, Sarah let out a scream that was almost like a cry. The materials. They're gone. What's wrong, Sarah? The materials are gone. What? The materials? Mr. Smith, sitting next to Sarah, asked her. The script for your presentation is missing. What? Sarah, who usually kept a composed expression, looked like she was about to burst into tears. Apparently, in the flurry of activity before departure, she forgot to bring the materials. Isn't there a backup on the laptop? Well, I dropped it during the turbulence earlier, and now it won't turn on. What an unfortunate. But you're good at presentations, Mr. Smith. You can manage without a script, can't you? What are you talking about? I can't speak without a script. Oh, what am I gonna do? The presentation is as soon as we land. The usually calm and collected Mr. Smith was now holding his head and trembling like a scared puppy. Because of me, Mr. Smith is gonna be embarrassed. Next to Mr. Smith, Sarah was sinking into despair. There's only an hour left until we arrive at Chicago. I had no choice. I took out my laptop and said to Sarah, Sarah, you remember the content, right? Mr. Smith, you talk about what you remember too. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna prepare the materials now. That's impossible. Then do the presentation ad-lib? That's reckless. Then stop complaining and let's get ready. We still have an hour. I urged Mr. Smith and Sarah to dictate what they remember. I was also listening by his side, so I have some idea of what he was talking about. If there was a point during the discussion that bothered me, I would say, wouldn't it be better to use this expression here? It would be more effective if you conveyed this information first, I would suggest, and make corrections. When people work hard, anything is possible. The increased concentration activates the brain and makes it easier to come up with better ideas. The three of us worked together for about 50 minutes to complete the better presentation material. It's much better than the previous draft. That's great, John. You're at the top of your class at the University of Chicago. Top of the class. Oh, Sarah, didn't you know? He graduated first in his class from the University of Chicago. What? Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to give people any strange preconceptions, so I asked him to keep it a secret. I graduated from the University of Chicago and speak 4 languages. This fact alone was enough to make me envied and ostracized, and I was kicked out of the project promotion department, which I had longed to be a part of. I don't know how cynical and mean they would have been if they had added the information that I was top of the class. I know very well that there is nothing more terrifying than a man's jealousy. I'll do the final check, and you two get ready to disembark. Let's find a copy machine as soon as we arrive. Sarah, please search for the location of the copier. Okay, I understand. Apparently, Sarah's view of me had changed in the past hour or so. The stinginess in her voice disappeared, and her tone became calm and gentle. Upon arrival, we ran to the copy machine, and Sarah found a stationery store to get a proposal kit. Armed with presentation materials that we would not be embarrassed to present anywhere, we hurried to the client. The presentation was a success, with Mr. Smith speaking so fluently and confidently that he didn't need a manuscript. The client's response was quite positive. Hey, I managed to make it through. How did it go? Perfectly fine. The response was great too. That's great, thanks to you. No. I was just putting together the materials. No, thanks to you. As we were talking, a voice suddenly called out to us. John. Oh, I missed him so much. There was Jesse, my best friend from Chicago. Jesse, long time no see. Why didn't you tell me if you'd come? No, I didn't know you were here. I'm in training to study. I hurriedly introduced Jesse to Mr. Smith and Sarah. Mr. Smith, Sarah, this is Jesse Brown, my friend from my days at the University of Chicago. Are you Jesse Brown, cow of bioscience development? Sarah interrupts my introduction and speaks up. Yes, it is. Nice to meet you, lady. Sarah turns red as Jesse gives her a big smile in return. Bioscience development is the leading biotech researcher. Why didn't you tell me something so important, John? No, I didn't know either. I thought you were taking over your father's company. You really don't care about anyone, do you? Apparently, Jesse had taken over his father's company, but had shifted his focus to biotechnology research and was now attracting a lot of attention in the industry as a pioneer in the field. He's come a long way while I've been coring Mr. Smith's bag. By the way, the presentation was made by you, right? No, it wasn't. I know what you're trying to hide. That was your idea, for all intents and purposes. Oh, so Jesse would know. I was in charge of preliminary research for this document. At that stage, I prepared the best materials for the presentation. The project team was made up of some of the best and brightest people, so I knew they would put together the best possible product from the materials I had gathered. And, as I had expected, they did exactly as I had hoped. Oh, I knew it. What? Did you notice that, Mr. Smith? Yes, of course. Who do you think recruited you? Hello, Jesse. It's been a long time. How is your father? Long time no see, mister. What? You knew Jesse. I recruited him too. I was hoping that you and Jesse could make our company a success together. I was not the only one. I and Jesse had worked hard, and we fought for the top spot. In the end, I graduated first in my class, but I was always on the edge of my seat, wondering when I would be overtaken. He and I both wanted to support the future of food, so we worked hard on our research. He is still a good advisor and a great friend. Come to think of it, we haven't kept in touch much since I became an assistant of Mr. Smith. I got out of research, and most importantly, my days were busy. My father is here today. How shall I introduce John to him? Well, as the next CO, please. I understand. What? What kind of joke is that? I'm a bag holder for Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, you're joking too much. When I said that, Jesse looked at me strangely. What? You haven't told him yet? I was going to tell him if this presentation was a success. It's a surprise. What is he going to say? A surprise. It's an undeniable success. I'm the one who decides on this project. That's wonderful. I'll announce it to all of you at the banquet. What on earth are you talking about? I was the only one who couldn't keep up with the conversation, and as I stood there blankly, Mr. Smith revealed the story to me. Mr. Smith, who had had his eye on me since he first scouted me, had planned to make me his right-hand man when he eventually became CEO. For this reason, he had me transferred to all departments in a short period of time to accumulate knowledge and experience. I wanted to entrust you with the future of this company. We need people like you who are capable, never give up hope, and continue to take on challenges with conviction. That's why I made you my assistant. Even after you became my assistant, you remained enthusiastic and willing to absorb everything I asked of you. No matter what I asked you to do, you always responded willingly and precisely, didn't you? You must have studied a lot to be able to answer that many questions. You have exceeded my expectations. That is why I am recommending you to be the next CEO. However, you will have to train for a few more years. I was stunned by what I had never expected to hear, but I was so happy to know that what I had done was not a mistake and that there was someone who was paying attention to me that I almost cried. What do you think? Are you up for it? You can have Jesse fight with you now. I'd love to do it. I'm sure we can make your dreams come true. Yeah, I'm sure we can. Now, let's get you into this suit. Sarah, give him the bag. The bag he handed me contained a newly made expensive suit. It was the perfect size. Apparently, this business trip was also my unveiling party. I was the only one who didn't know. The dinner party was a great success, with everyone talking about me. Everyone congratulated me on my future. I'm happy for you, John, that your true ability has been recognized. But I'm surprised to hear that you are at the top of the class. That makes sense that you do your job perfectly. Sarah, dressed in her best clothes, was even more beautiful than ever. I had never seen her smile like this before. Did you know that too? Of course. I am the first secretary. I've heard that you are an excellent person, but I didn't know how good you were, so I let you know how I felt about you until now. Apparently, she was acting coldly on purpose to see how good a man I was. Now we can finally talk frankly. Sarah, smiling like that, definitely stole my heart. I think there will be more opportunities for you to come here in the future. If that happens, you'll have to be accompanied by your partner. Negotiate with her while you still can. Leaving behind enigmatic words and a wink, Jesse patted me on the shoulder and left. Yes, let's start by talking casually. Can I talk to you more openly from now on? I'll be more open too. I'm glad to hear that. Jealousy and difficult situations did not discourage me from learning and pursuing my dreams. The result of all of these efforts was condensed on this day. With the expectations of those around me and a reliable comrade in arms, I began to push forward toward my original goal. The project is not going smoothly, but it is slowly but steadily starting to produce results. We have only just begun. There will be many more difficulties to come, but I have reliable friends and a beautiful partner who warms my heart. I will go on the path I believe in and make my grandpa's dream come true. Grandpa, please watch over me.